Good morning. Today is Monday, October 6th. It's 5:06 a.m. Central Time. I figure I would just get the morning prep done before I hit the gym. There doesn't seem to be too much on the news docket this morning, but things do look like they are pushing up higher today, which is interesting pre-market. So we'll kind of walk through that. But one thing I was kind of looking at here was all the options flow from Friday, and I'm just looking at premium over $1 million. So this is for people buying options for $1 million plus. Overall market looks bullish on Friday. A lot of bullish bets, regardless of expiry, but they were bullish, right? And I was like, okay, that's interesting. Look at the Qs, super bullish. We have this 19 million, which is expired on 10/17, so 10 days from now. Um, this is like a synthetic long where they bought it at 602 when they bought it in the money already, and another 7 million with a 635 strike price. So somebody's really thinking by December we're going to really go up. So that's kind of interesting for me. And then we look at the SPY. Super interesting. We have more bearish bets on the SPY, not as big as the Qs. I think our biggest bets are like 4 million, where you had the 19 million on the Qs, which was interesting. What is this? The Dow equivalent, I think. Um, is it the Dow equivalent? Oh, I forget. So there's that, and then I forget what the ETF is for the Russell. But it's interesting that the Qs are bullish, a lot of big bullish bets on the Qs, but then bearish bets on the SPY and this Dow equivalent. So I just thought that was just an interesting thing, and then also just overall market more bullish bets, right? And if we look at, let's just look at this past week, right? This past week, we'll look at so it's been bullish. If we do, okay, if you spent $1 million, right? Bullish for the week. Q's still bullish, right? And I mean that 19 million was the biggest one that we saw, and that was purchased last Friday. Is this the historical? Yes. Um, and if we just go day by day, of course, every time I'm trying to do this, it gets broken. It's funny. So maybe there's a problem also with historical data. It looks like there might be. Well, anyways, at least for Friday. Yeah, I guess I'm always looking at it right when things are breaking. Well, there you go. So I'll come back to that, but I just thought that was interesting. Um, and then did a quick search. So I have this prompt that I'm saving and just going to use every day, but did a quick search on Grok. It looks like overview for today is, we're at highs even though we're shut down. It looks like there's like inflow of billions, and October is seasonally bullish. So that's interesting. Not too much happening. And then on the GPT front, yeah, I mean, this just talks about some key levels here. So this, 25 for 100, which obviously is the level. I mean, these are kind of all the areas that I'm watching too, so that's fine. Kind of where we are. We're at all-time highs. If it can't stay above a certain point, it might fall over. Pretty obvious. And then I thought this was interesting too. So yeah, October, historically strong tech month. So we have our Claude and also Grok saying the same thing about October being bullish. So that's interesting. And then we see kind of those option bets were being bullish as well. Let's see if it can kind of come back here. Okay, now we're back. So we'll go back to a million. Yeah, so that's pretty on Friday, pretty bullish there. And then if we try to do this again on the whole week, hopefully it'll play nice. Okay, we're playing nice. So it was bearish for the week, but then we say, okay, if you spent $1 million last week, bullish, right? And this is all last week. I don't know. Yeah, so you got the dates from the 29th, right? That's $1 million bullish, a little bit bearish, another 1.5 bullish bearish, 1.7, 1.6. And then you get to the second, October 2nd, right? So bam. So call. 1 million, 3 million, 1.5, 1 million, 2 million. And then some bearish right here, right? But kind of longer out. So not, you know. And then we had this really big one, this 19.2 million on Friday for 1017, right? And so they bought it in the money, so they're just kind of going long basically. So that's interesting, right? So that's something I'm definitely keeping in mind. But then when you look at the SPY, all right, so that's still, bullish, which is good. And then if we look at, okay, so that's bullish for the week. So that's all kind of, and I forget what the Russell is, but anyways, um, so that's interesting, right? So in the last week, if you look at people who spent over $1 million on options flow, it's more bullish across the board. So I will keep that in mind. Quite interesting. And then I marked the dark pools already, so I'm not expecting to really look too much into that. Um, and so I guess we can just hop into the charts and see what things look like here. Yeah, really quick on financial juice. Not much happening today. There's some trade balance stuff. On the news, the French prime minister resigned. So that's probably not good, but it feels like the US markets don't care, but maybe that's a spill on effect globally. I don't know. And then what else is happening in the news? Obviously, the shutdown's still happening, day 6, whatever. And we'll see if they can come to an agreement this week. I think on average they shut down for like 8 to 16 days or something. So it is what it is. So there's that. We have some earnings happening this week. I guess I'll pay attention if there's anything more noteworthy, but I don't see anything from a tech sector really. But I'll double check that later. And really quickly on the charts here. So if we look at what's been happening pre-market, we opened and gone straight up. Go NQs. Opened, gone straight up after this outside day yesterday on the Qs. You zoom out, uptrend, super uptrend. Same thing with the S&P. Opened, went straight up, super uptrend, super strong. Russell opened, went straight up, super strong. Dow open, went straight up, but not as strong as everything else. So it's interesting, right? Like you see this little wick here on the Dow, no wick on the Russell, no wick on the ES, no wick on the Nasdaq. So it feels like now we're rotating back and kind of pushing these higher. And since NQ is lagging on Friday, maybe now we're going to lead on Monday because people are kind of bouncing their money back and forth and testing where the limits are with the all-time highs. Feels like maybe that's what's happening. So quite interesting there. So we got VIX eking up, but still within like this flat area. So it's kind of not a big deal. And then we got the dollar showing a little bit of revival of strength here, maybe because of the French stuff, what's happening with the prime minister. So I think all of their stuff is tanking in France, and so that's making the dollar a little bit stronger relatively, but we're still down quite a bit. Um, then we have treasury yields again in this pocket, so nothing really to write home about yet. And then the XLK pre-market is right at the opening price. So we closed low. Now we're back up. We're at the opening price pre-market, whereas on the NQ we are above the opening price. But the weirdness about the NQ is this is looking at 23 hours, and then the XLK is looking at regular trading hours. So I don't really know where the opening pre-market lines up, but they look about the same. So we'll just take that with a grain of salt. And then for our mega tech, so pre-market, so Apple's holding it pretty good. Microsoft a little bit higher than open. Amazon up, opening a little higher than its close, which is good. Google opening a little bit higher, which is strong. Meta holding up. I was kind of not hoping, but I was open to us gapping down, not gapping down, holding up. So there you go. So we'll see. We'll see if that pushes us higher. Nvidia strength pre-market. It's near the opening of Friday, which is good. Tesla, so could have been a buy the dip. So now pre-market is right below the open there. I think if we break the high of that candle, then bulls might wake up again. So there you go. And then the Qs are the Qs. Pre-market is at the open of Friday, so it looks really strong. So there you go. Things look like, we are strength is back, at least pre-market. We'll see what the open looks like. And as far as pre-market for what I'm looking at, let's just look at our 1 minute. So everything, nothing really changes on the Qs. Sunday prepped, mark the levels here. Oh, this is the NQ. That's why it doesn't have my levels. And let's look at futures. Here we go. Yes. Yeah, so we marked our imbalance levels here on the 1 hour, but I'll just kind of walk through it really quickly in case you didn't see the Sunday prep. But we had our dark pool levels here. There was some printed here, did the conversion, so added those. And then we have kind of this push up, like look at all that green imbalance here. We just went from that area. So a lot of buying right here. So I mark that as good support. More buying here, mark that as good support. There's probably more here, but I feel like these two are enough for now. So we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, this previous all-time high. So I thought that was a pretty a level to mark there. And these dark pool levels. Uh-oh, what happened to? I zoomed in accidentally here. Yeah, I always accidentally zoom in. I can't never zoom out on my Mac here, so this is annoying. Well, anyways, I'll deal with that later. Well, we're just gonna have to deal with. I'll have to figure out how to unzoom later. But anyways, so that was the levels there, and now I have lost myself here. So those are the levels. And then I guess if we look at let's switch to regular trading hours. So regular trading hours, and I can't figure out how to zoom out right at this moment, so we're just gonna have to do this like this. So let's see, we had no, this is the wrong electronic. Here we go. Okay, so electronic trading hours. Here we go. So we had the sell off, and then we've opened on Sunday, and then just kind of went straight up. I like how at least the CVD candles are working out pretty nicely here. Can I just make no? Cannot. So pushing up, I think we pushed up into this dark pull level, fell over. So that is nice. Fell over to VWAP. That held the support, and we broke above. We broke above to this rejection level. You can kind of see, and then retested it, fell over again, and then eked out a little bit higher back to these kind of support levels before we were falling over yesterday. And it's just kind of it failed there twice. 1, 2, tried again, and back to this level. So for me, if I can somehow draw a line here, so this is significant level here. So we're going to draw that line, and Obviously I like this high here. Not an alert. All right, so I like that. And then got the dark pool level. And then this will be interesting too, where we kind of bounced off, which coincides with here, this level where it just rejected and fell over. And then now it bounced right off of that. So it's just you just have to kind of see these swing points. I think they're just interesting to kind of watch for how price ping pongs around. So for me, I think at the open, I mean, obviously we're up. All time high is here. So we will add that also. I mean, it'll automatically draw anyways, but we'll do that. I mean, I like this. Also, this we failed right here pretty significantly. So let's just draw that line. So I think for me, maybe we continue pushing up. We're like going to gap up like 100 something points. So maybe we continue up here, see how we react, see how we react. I think once we get to this level, um, potentially rolling back over. Uh, if we base, we'll look for the long. If we break it, and maybe even if we can kind of break below here, but I'll kind of watch here. If we break below this, I think I'd look for shorts back down to here. So we'll kind of see. I don't know if we'll have too much range today, but definitely open to it. Um, and I guess there's not, other than just like, hey, rate cuts are coming, AI is amazing, whatever. I don't know that there's any more catalysts that'll push us to new all-time highs, but maybe that's the reason we'll continue to have all-time highs. Like if there's no significant news happening, then the narrative of rate cuts are coming, AI is amazing, whatever, growth, then maybe we just keep eking higher for no reason. That's also a possibility. So let's see. Again, I'm naturally short bearish, and I'll always look for the shorts, but I have to be open to price is just going up. And if we can kind of clear all these levels with strength, then we'll keep going up. That's just what's happening. Cool. Well, that's it for me. I have to figure out my charts here, and good luck and don't get caught. Thank you.